Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for lending me your ears. Today, I want to talk about how do we turn a negative of what we have to offer into a positive, and how do we take control of that conversation. Now, years ago, I read a study, and I apologize because I can't remember the name of the study or the title, but I do remember this little snippet, is that when you're presenting a lot of positive features, if you mention one negative, it actually gives you credibility. So there's one way of using a negative to bolster your product or service. But what I want to talk about today is more direct. What is it? What happens when a customer ask you about a weakness in your product? Now, you know that if you've followed my course on blocking objections, if you haven't checked it out, go to salesvelocityacademy.com. If the customer raises the objection, you no longer have control of the conversation. So what you need to do, if you know that your product or service has a weakness, then what you want to do is raise that weakness. And then let's talk about how we pivot to the positive. I'm going to give you two ways of doing it. Let's take an example. Let's say that you have a billing system that has a lot of features, a lot of bells and whistles. Do you wait for the customer to raise the objection? The answer is no. Don't let them raise the negative. You raise the negative, you'll say something like this. Some of my clients, some of my customers think our billing software has too many features, has too many bells and whistles. Here's the pivot. However, as your business grows, you're going to realize that you'll need them. So there's no need to wait for the next development cycle or the next rev. You already have that built into the system. See what I did there? I raised a negative. I pivoted with however. So I went from a negative statement, however, pivot to a positive outcome. In other words, I'll say it again. Some clients think our billing software has too many features or bells and whistles, the negative. However, as your business grows, you'll realize that you'll need them, the positive. So there's no need to wait for long development cycles or the next development rev. So see how I did that? By the way, you can change the word however. Sometimes people use until they realize. I'll say it again, using the until they realize. Some customers think our billing software has too many features, bells and whistles, until they realize that as their business grows, they're going to need them. And when they need them, they don't have to wait for the next development cycle. So again, you can use the however or until they realize as a nice pivot towards the positive. One more example. Some clients think our training is too long. It's too long. Let's say it's 10 days, right? They just say it's too long. Now, again, if the customer raises the objection, you're at a disadvantage. So you're going to raise the negative by saying this. Some clients think our training is just too long or too unnecessarily extensive. However, when you have a sophisticated product like ours, which is a large investment, utilizing all its capabilities is essential. So an extra day of training is the difference between merely using it and maximizing it. Let me say that again, but this time I'm going to use until they realize. Again, some clients think our training is too long or too extensive until they realize that when you have a sophisticated product like ours, which is a large investment, utilizing all its capabilities is essential. So an extra day or two of training is the difference between merely using the product and maximizing your return on investment. You see, it's all about how do you take the comment, the negative, do the pivot, however, or until they realize, and turn it into a positive. So here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to look at your product set and your features and your functionality. And if you sell a service, look at your set there and list your weaknesses. Just go ahead and list your weaknesses. Come up with 5 to 7. Then create a raising statement. In other words, you're going to raise the negative aspect of your product or service. You're going to pivot with however, and then I want you to write out that positive statement to dismiss the negative. So here's the formula very quickly. Raise the negative statement, pivot with however or until they realize, and then conclude with a positive statement. Do this and you'll be able to control your presentation. And that is it for the Sales Influence Podcast. Leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Let me know what you think. I'd love to get your feedback. Also, if you haven't checked out the Sales Velocity Academy, why not? Go to salesvelocityacademy.com. We've added some new fast courses on there to kind of get you going faster and quicker so you can sell more faster. And lastly, this is Victor Antonio, always reminding you that selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care. Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.